everyone, welcome back to our last class of Teen Paint Night. I am so excited to do this lesson. Today we are going to be making cards, which is something that a lot of people use their watercolor skills for. It's fun to make a homemade card for a friend or family member, and it's really special to receive. So I'm excited to get started with this. I am filming today at work instead of at home, so I forgot my sample card that I made up. So we're going to be working from scratch in my head, which should be interesting. We're going to make a Mother's Day card the first card, but it's just planning a little bit ahead for next month. But I thought that your moms might like to have a card. If you don't want to use it for a Mother's Day card, it's just going to be a floral card. So if you want to use it for someone's birthday or another event instead, that's okay too. So I would recommend any moms who are kind of listening in the background to not take a look at what your child is painting in case you want to be surprised. And then we're going to do a birthday card after that. So I am going to get my supplies all set up and we will continue. So, I moved my phone. So you are going to have to get your a full piece of paper and tear it in half so that we can make two cards folded over. So I'm going to get you set up on the stand and I'll show you what to do. Okay, so we are going to start by folding our paper in half like this. And then you can either cut or rip along that line. I'm gonna rip mine. So I folded it over a few times and now I'm gonna rip along that line, but feel free to use scissors if you want to. And then I will fold this in half as well to make a card. So now we're gonna have two cards. One, two. Okay, so when the card is all folded and ready, if you ripped, you can snip off that rough edge if you don't like it, but I don't mind it like that. Now you're going to take your masking tape and we're going to tape it down, folded in half, so that the inside stays nice and clean while we paint. Okay, so now you'll want your clean water, your brush, and some paper towel or a rag, and we're going to get started. So for this painting, I am going to do kind of a peony kind of flower at the bottom. We're going to do some leaves, some little buds, some small flowers, and we're going to leave the middle empty so we can do a little bit of writing on the Happy Mother's Day or whatever on the inside. So we're going to get started with our flower. I have my paint here. I hope you can see it. My setup is a little bit different than it was, so I hope everybody can see this. So I'm going to start by mixing up some paint to do my peony. My tray is a little bit crowded here, but if you want to get a little plate or wash that out, you can. So I'm going to take some of the red. I did already put some water in there, if you can't tell, but make sure you get it nice and liquidy. We want some red, and then I'm going to get a little yellow to make it kind of an orangey peach color. A little more maybe. That might be a little too much. Wash that off and get get some more red. I want kind of like mostly red, but with just kind of a peachy undertone. Let's give that a try. So I'm gonna start, I want it to be a pink instead of a red, so I'm gonna add a whole bunch of water, or you can either add water, or you can get the paint on your brush. Oh, you can't see my water. Dip it into the water and let some of it off and kind of tap it. So what I'm gonna do for a peony, if you don't know what a peony looks like, feel free to pause the video and go Google it, because it's kind of important to get the feel of what the flower looks like. But it's kind of a bowl-shaped flower. It's tightly packed in the center, and then the petals kind of fall out around the edge. We are going to be painting the peony as if you're looking at it straight ahead from the side at the bottom. So I am going to do kind of like a bowl shape. So you want it spread out on the outside and all coming to the center point of the flower here at the inside. And then I'm going to rinse my brush off even more and get just a tiny bit of color and do a pale back row of flowers. So the inside, the center middle of the flower where it's most tightly packed would be kind of in between these two layers. So I want a light layer at the back and a darker section here. And you can also, if you want a little bit more of an orangey tone, you can take some of the yellow, water it down nicely, and just plop it in there to make kind of a different colors, peachy. There we go, that looks kind of nice. We will come back to that with a different color next. I'm gonna spread that out a little. And let's do the leaves for the peony. So get your brush, water. I'm gonna do I might do a green, kind of a mix of the two. I have some light green and maybe a tiny bit of dark green. We're gonna do the petals. So I'm going to do a little stem up there, and I might even touch the green into there a little bit. I kind of like how that looks if the green starts to mix in with the yellow and red. And then I'm going to pull a thin stem off there and push down heavy strokes and let go. So I think we did this previously, but let's do it again. So you start with very light pressure for the beginning of the leaf, then push down with heavy pressure, pull, and release. That makes a really pretty looking leaf. And I'm going to do another one over on this side. So the light pressure for the stem, push, pressure, and release. Other side of the leaf, pressure, oops, that one kind of messed up a little. There we go, that's cute. And rinse off your brush. Now I'm going to kind of do a little foliage here up the side to kind of frame the card. For this one, I am going to mix, oh my gosh, my glue is running away. Mix a little bit of blue in with the green for this one to create kind of like a different color of green. Blue green. And I am going, for this part, I'm going to do a curved stem lightly and then some branches off of it. And on the end of each branch, I'm going to do a little leaf. So it's the same technique, light, pressure, and release. Sorry, you probably can't see that. I might do another one right there. That looks kind of cute. I think I want a few more there. There we go. And on this other side, I think I'm going to do something different. I am going to do a little small rosebud maybe. So get some red on your brush with water And we're going to do a rose up maybe here, maybe halfway up the page, and then we'll do a stem going down. So I'm just going to do a small rosebud as if you're looking off from the side. And then I'm gonna grab some dark green for the stem. And make sure you don't have too much paint on your brush at this point, because then it will just blob and not make a nice thin stem. We want a nice thin stem for this one. So light pressure. And then we'll do the same, but do nice big spots for the petals. Oops, dropped a little green. I'll have to make that work into my painting. So just put petals where you want it. I might do another little, super tiny bud at the end of that. That might be kind of pretty. There, I like that. And now, how about we do maybe like a yellow daisy kind of thing here up at the top. So I'm gonna grab just some plain yellow. Oops, mine kind of turned into a little bit of an orange with all that red I accidentally mixed in, but that's okay. So water down the yellow, and we're gonna do a daisy. So we're gonna leave an empty spot where the center will be, and then do some petals coming out. So the petals, will use the same kind of technique as we did for the long leaves. We will do light pressure, push, and release. And we'll do that all the way around. Light pressure, push, release. Light pressure, push, release. This flower is kind of simple and it's really pretty. There we go. And then for the center, I'm going to do a little orange. So I'm going to mix up a bit of orange in the center of my palette with some yellow and just a touch of red. And then just pop that orange in the center. If you want, you can let the petals have a little bit of it and then it will spread down the petal, but you don't have to if you don't want to. There, that's cute. And I think I touched all the petals a little bit, so the orange might start to spread a bit, but that's okay. Oh, it's spreading quite a lot down that one. And then I'm going to do a light green stem for this guy. Oh, right, I forgot I had that blob of dark green there. So I'm going to bring the light green stem in. There we go. And I think I'll just do one more flower up in the corner here and leaves coming down. And then we'll leave a little spot in the middle to write Happy Mother's Day. Okay, maybe I will do kind of a purple up here, or maybe, yeah, let's try a purple 5-petaled flower. So I'm going to add a little bit of blue to some of my red in my center palette here. That's not like the nicest purple ever, but let's give it a try. So for the 5-petal, I am going to do a center as well, like the daisy, but I'm going to make the petals a bit wider. I hope you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to do light pressure, push, and then bring it back into a petal kind of shape. I'm having a hard time with my stand here with my hands bumping, but that's okay. This one's almost like a violet or something even. Just want these petals to be more rounded. And then I'm going to put a little bit of yellow at the center of that one. If you want to do a different color flower, feel free. It's up to you. I don't really love the purple that this turned out to be, but that's okay. And then I'm going to get a nice dark green for some leaves on this guy. I'm going to do the leaves for this one coming directly in, no stem, just coming directly from the flower. Oh, that's cute. And okay. Now what do I want to fill in these gaps with? Maybe I'll just do a little, like one of these peonies, but kind of small over here. Just as long as you bring it back to the center point where the stem is, all the petals come off of that center point, it will look nice. It doesn't have to look exactly like the flower you're going for. It can be a little different, that's okay. My back layer of petals and the stem. And up here, let's see, maybe I'll just do a few leaves up here. Like a little, like kind of like we did down here. There we go, that's pretty cute. And so I'm gonna rinse my brush off and come back to the first peony we did with some of this yellow ochre. And I'm just going to do kind of like the pollen, the center of the flower has little pollen spots on it. So I'm just gonna take that yellow ochre and just do a few dots here to show like, that's the center where the pollen would be. There. Now we are going to let this dry and come back to it to do this writing in the center once it's all dry. And we are going to move on to the birthday card. Okay, so for the birthday card, we are going to be doing a card with a balloon bouquet kind of thing on it. So grab your paper and fold it in half like we did for the other one. And we're going to do the same thing where we tape it down. Oh, and I forgot to mention, when I had it paused, I grabbed some clean water. So you go ahead and do that too. We're going to want some nice clean water for this. So for this, for the balloons, we're going to do a few different layers, overlapping a bit. You'll see what I mean in a second. We are going to do light colors this time, and to make the light colors, we just use lots of water. So we're going to start by choosing your color palette. I think I'm going to do kind of a peachy yellow and pink color palette, but you can do whatever color you want. You can either do what the person having the birthday, what color they like, or what color you like, or follow along with me, whatever you want. So grab your clean brush, clean water, and I'm going to start working on my balloons. So I'm going to do balloons in the kind of top half, but I'm going to leave a little bit of spot to write happy birthday. So I'm going to do balloons here, and then the strings here So we're going to do really light colors. So get a bit of paint on your brush and dip it off, because we don't want dark colors because we're going to be doing layers. And then I'm going to do, you can do balloon shapes or circles. I'm going to try to do a balloon shape. And then I want to vary the shade a little bit with every, oops, that's way too dark. Every balloon, I want to have a bit of a different shade. So we're just going to start by putting, I think I'm going to do circles actually. I don't really love the way that shape looked. So do a bunch of circles, filling it in, but don't touch. We don't want the color bleeding into each other. So a bunch of circles, not touching. And we want, like I said before, we want the colors to be light because we're going to put another layer on top. So add lots of water, and if it's a little too dark for you, you can always grab your paper towel and dab some of that color off. And then if you want to, you can smooth that out with some clean water. Orange. Do another pink. Just whatever color strike your fancy. You can do whatever color scheme you want. So for that one, I started painting the circle, and it was just water mostly. So I painted a circle of water, and then I went in again with some color. Okay, maybe I'll do another yellow. Over there, oh, that one's touching a bit, oh well. And another red. And I'll do one more. It's a bit too dark for me in both of these. And dry those off a little. Get a little bit of the paint off of that, these two. And I'm going to do one more kind of orangey one over here. All right, so we are going to let that dry completely, and then we'll come back to it to do the second layer. And in the meantime, we can go back to our flower card. So I'm going to try to move this over and bring my flower back. We are going, my flower is dried now. If yours isn't, you can pause the video and let it dry. We're going to be working on the writing in the center. Oh, I guess I probably shouldn't have taped that down. We're going to start practicing our calligraphy style writing with a scrap piece of paper. So grab a scrap piece of paper. You can either do paint or do marker, whatever you want. But we're going to practice first so it looks nice before we stick it on our card. With calligraphy, the down strokes when you're writing, like when you're writing, say, the letter N, this is a downstroke, N, and then this would be an upstroke and a downstroke. So the downstrokes are thick, and the upstrokes are thin. So you can do a cursive style if you want to, or you can just do printing, but we're going to make the letters look a little bit nicer by doing the downstrokes thick, upstrokes thin, and downstrokes thick. See how that looks a lot kind of fancier than the regular? So we're going to be writing Happy Mother's Day. So with happy, so just practice over and over again. I'm using a Sharpie. You can also use watercolor if you want to. I'm going to do let's try doing a row of Sharpie and then a row I'm gonna try practicing writing the happy. So thick, thick. For the A, we're gonna go up, thin, down, thick, up, thin, down, down. I have this chisel kind of tip from Sharpie, which isn't kind of nice for this, but oops, right thick. It just takes a little bit of practice. Now I'm going to do some paint for this next one. Let's do some blue. So whatever you want. Sometimes it's easier to do with a marker, but I like doing it with paint too. Thick for down, thin, thick, thin, thick. I like the way that the watercolor looks, but it's messier, so depends what you're looking for. So just remember, all the downstrokes are thick and the upstrokes are thin. If you want to practice away this, like I have a bit of practice, so maybe I hope I'm not showing an unrealistic, but what you can do to practice is just do a wavy line, do thin on the upstrokes and thick on the downstrokes. Thin, thick, thin, thick, thin, thick. You can just do that over and over again until you're comfortable with the strokes. And then it just kind of comes a bit more naturally. And you can control how thick the lines are by the pressure of the brush. So if you don't want it to be quite as thick as mine, you don't have to. And I'm doing it nice and big to show you, but I won't be doing it that big on the card. Happy Mothers. So you just practice until you're happy with the way it looks. On the card, it's going to be pretty small, so the brush might not be the best. The marker might be easier, but I also have big markers, so you do whatever you feel is best. And you just keep practicing until you feel comfortable, because you don't want to make a mistake on your card and all that hard work with all the hard work that you did with the flowers. So whatever you feel comfortable with. I'm going to use the brush, but it is a really small spot, so do what you feel comfortable with. I'm going to do red. So just get a tiny bit. You do not get your brush too wet. Just enough color to see it, but we don't want globs of paint going into our letters. And just remember, this card is small, so you have to be really careful, especially with the bigger brush. And I'm just going to smooth it out a little. Happy. There we go. So I think that looks pretty cute. So just remember the thick downstrokes, thin upstrokes, and keep practicing, and I think it looks pretty good. So the Mother's Day card is done, and we will start finishing up the birthday card. Mine is still a tiny bit wet, so I'm going to pause and continue again when mine is completely dry. So now all my balloons have dried. I'm going to do the next layer. So we're going to do the same thing, the circles with a really light watery paint. This time we're going to do overlapping, as if you're holding a bouquet of balloons down here, and then the strings go up and the balloons are here. So get the same kind of colors, and we're going to do circles, ignoring as if we didn't have anything down below, and lightly paint over top. That one's a little dark, oops. I'm gonna soak up some of that. Spread the color around again with just some water. That's a big balloon. Oops, soaked up a little bit too much that time. There we go. So we want some overlaps, and we want it to just look as if you're holding a bunch of see-through balloons. There, I think that looks pretty good. That one's a little big and lumpy, but that's okay. Now we're going to let that layer dry, and we will come back, do the strings, and we're going to write happy birthday at the top. So we'll see you again in a few minutes. So mine's all dry, and I'm going to come back in with black for the strings, I think. You can use a really thin marker if you want to too. I would use a thin marker if I could, but I think I forgot mine at home, so that's okay. I'm going to use super thin black lines for some strings. So you can do, I'm just going to do it like that, I think. It's just kind of the way, maybe a few more in the back. And then maybe a bow, tying them all together. I don't know how I love that bow, but oh well. Maybe I will do red on the bow. I don't know if I can fix this. Okay, feel free to omit the bow, but I'm happy with the balloons. I think they look really good. I like the different layers, the different colors that intermix, and I love how that looks. The bow looks, in my opinion, not the best, so maybe I'll even cut that part off when I give the card, and just to give the balloons with the strings. But anyway, I hope yours looks better than my bow, or you didn't do the bow at all. So I'm gonna write happy birthday with color up here. I'm gonna do blue. Feel free to do whatever color you want. Just kind of the same. I hope I have room for birthday in there. I have to do it a little smaller. There we go. Happy birthday. I think it looks cute, other than the bow. But I think I'm just going to cut that bow off, and it will be good. And that's it for our card. So I hope you enjoyed the teen paint night. Please use the link I included down below in the description of the video to let me know how I did, what you liked, what you didn't like, what changes you might want for the next paint night. And please, the feedback is super important to the library so we can continue doing these types of programs. And we all really appreciate hearing what you guys think, especially in these virtual programs because we can't see you in real life. Thank you so much for joining me in Teen Paint Night. I had a really fun time and I hope you guys enjoyed it.